All right. Hi, Keep. So, feels like a long time ago, but actually, I've streamed pretty recently, to be honest. Um, so I don't really know why I feel so rusty, but here we go. Team Cup 2020. Um, just keeping an eye on my internet because I've had some notifications recently about maintenance in my area. So I have to be even more careful than usual today. Um, Yeah, it does feel like forever ago, but you know what? It isn't. I think that's the command. Oh, maybe not. Is that? Let me look that up. It was actually only about 10 days ago, maybe. I didn't stream on Wednesday, but I think I streamed the previous Saturday. I could be wrong. Past streams, streamless. That's the command. Doesn't bode well when I don't even know my own commands, does it? So there we go, stream list. Let's actually just have a look um, to remind myself more than anything, really. So yeah, we're doing quad Fermi today. I streamed 14 core, which the stream wasn't great, but I'm actually quite happy with that chip. Let me maybe just quickly sort of do a summary of what I've done with the chip. So I mentioned it last stream, but I think it bears repeating. Got it for about 800 Australian dollars, which is maybe even less than 10900Ks go for. So that's a win for sure. It's going to be a good 3D chip for the later stuff, the newer stuff. Yeah, so White Shark, this is for Team Cup. Let me just change my video quality because I'm seeing a few drop frames. Yeah, so if you're familiar with the 06 stage, this is for 06. But anyway, let's have a quick look at the X265 I've been doing. So I want to run this cold, so I've kind of been doing efficiency testing mainly for 4K, and I can be pretty happy with this. I mean, I'm beating a couple of people, well, technically 3 people, including Stinger, and Stinger is a pretty good bencher, who are on more. I think I'm just gonna have to pause my own viewing of my own stream here. My internet isn't great, but anyway, they're on more megahertz than I am. Oh, Falcon as well, and League. What the hell was League doing? And Angle. So basically, summary is efficiency is good. What was League doing? Must have set the wrong max memo or something. I don't see anything crazy bad here. So anyway, creeping up on Dan Cup, but I need to stress that Dan Cup is on Windows 10. So yeah, but there's only 2 more ambient runs ahead of me. This chip was severely underbenched. You can see only 2 LN2 results. So maybe I can get hardware gold. But my run, I'm sort of doing the high and loose approach to 4K with pretty high maximum set. So you've got your like 4080 C. Oh, I haven't even subbed my better run yet. I think I've actually beaten Dan Cobb. Let me try and remember. Yeah, I think I have a 31.8 run or something. But basically, my other run is more or less the same. Similar kind of Northbridge. Increasing Northbridge ends up increasing the heat too much, and then also the current draw. But I have a 14, 13, 12 run. I haven't tried lower than 280 TRFC, which would probably work as well. But Northbridge was kind of maxed. DRAM, I think I went up to 2050 or so, but then the timings, obviously, I haven't really done much with. I've only gone to 14, 13, 12, and then everything else is on the loose profile. I've also found a better bias that allows more current draw. This bias is limited to plus 140%. I don't know if that really makes a difference in this bench, but it's definitely worth testing. And then I think I'm at about 4.8 now. But anyway, happy with this. Still need to do it on server 2012, which is going to be faster. And on 1080p, I haven't really done any optimization there. But obviously there's lots of little, globals to be had in the 14 core category. So that was the last stream. Previous stream to that was Frozen 3570K, which was a pretty hard fail. I mean, I learned a lot, but the chip just wasn't any good. So I have a new 4570K on the way. I have a couple of boards for this. Well, I have a lot of boards actually, because I have Asus and I have two OC formulas. So I want to keep bidding 3570Ks. 3770Ks are still a little bit too pricey for my liking. But today what we're doing is, and maybe I shouldn't be streaming this because we have someone from Team Hardware Reactor in the chat. Don't want to give away any anything really, but it's Team Cup, which ends at the end of this month, September. Specifically, it's the 3D Mark 06 sort of stage where we have DDR1 on a single GPU, DDR2. This is kind of my idea in a sort of a way. I don't want to take full credit for it, but I did suggest a stage where there would be single in the design thread. I suggested a stage which would have an old benchmark, a legacy benchmark, which 3D Mark 06 is, with single GPU, dual GPU, triple GPU, and quad GPU. But the twist that they added to it was to also make a DDR, DDR2, DDR3, DDR4. So DDR3 is triple. I might actually run that because that's interesting with the 555 Black Editions, which I'm benching at the moment anyway. And also because I have a HD 7990, which will go really nicely with my Lightning 7970. But this now is the DDR4 edition, which is quad GPU, and there's very few subs, and NVIDIA is specified. So typically on an old bench like this, you would want to run something like a 295X2 twice, two of those, or HD 7990. But since it's limited to NVIDIA, what you want is two cards to reduce the latency and so on. So the only sort of reasonably affordable games in town are things like GTX 295s, GTX 590s, which is what I'm running, or 690s. I'm sure there's others, but those are the ones that come to mind. It's two subs only anyway, so I think a lot of teams will go 590, 690, because I mean, I had the classified already, which I bought from a local bencher, and then when I saw another card come up on eBay with an offer option, I offered 100 Aussie dollars, and got the Zotac. And to be honest, I mean, I can show you in GPU-Z, even though classified has a higher stock clock, just looking at the cards, I haven't disassembled the cards at all, and I haven't really read into this or anything, but just looking at the cards, it seems like they're both just reference PCBs. So the default clock on the Classy is a little bit higher. So you've got 630, 864, and on the Zotac 608, 854. So not a big difference. So how did I get to this point? Well, actually, I had to yes, I kind of agree, White Shark. I don't know. I don't know what the deal was at the time. Um, I'm not really aware of any other EVGA classifieds that went this route of no custom PCB. Um, I don't know what the decision making was at the time. It really seems weird to me that um, that they went for that. I mean, the 590 wasn't such a big deal. I wasn't really around at the time, but it wasn't really a flagship product or anything, as far as I remember. So they could have just skipped it and not made a classified for it. It's kind of weird. Um, yeah, so in order to get this running, I first tried. So the specification, what's specified as well is four video cards, 4 cores, right? So you're immediately very limited in what you can run. So the typical options, I'm not saying these are all of the options, but the typical options would be 6700K, 7700K, 8350K, but there you're giving up hyperthreading. Something like 76 for like X299 territory KBX, 7640X or 7740X, and then you're kind of done. There's no limit on the manufacturer of the CPU, so something like whatever it's called, 3300X might be competitive, but again, the big problem is how do you get the cards running? That's the challenge. So yesterday, as you maybe can see, first of all, my SLI bridge is the longest dual SLI bridge I have, and it just about reaches, and I have to fiddle around with the cards a little bit to not put too much pressure on the bridge. And I have some spare bridges here in case it breaks, because it really wouldn't surprise me if it broke. That's the first thing. The second thing is obviously on the Apex 9, you have very limited PCIe lanes. So you've got top slot is 16x for single card. Then you have a second slot, which is physically 16x, but I don't think goes above 8x for triple configurations. And then you have a third slot, which again is 16x physical, but doesn't go above 8x for dual and triple configurations. And then you have a bunch of physically not 16x slots. I think they're just 1x slots, which I just ignore because there's no point. And then you have the very bottom slot, which is where the Zotac is in now, which is a physical 16x slot, but it's coming from the chipset, so it only has 4x. So GPU Z is just plain wrong. If I were to show you this in BIOS, it would tell you the actual lane assignments. So here, for whatever reason, it's telling us 16x at PCI 2.0. The card is 2.0, so that's no surprise. But it's telling us that on both cards, which is obviously wrong. They're running either 16x and 4x, or maybe even 8x and 4x. But point being, SLI does not support natively under 8x, completely regardless of the generation. Mic is glitching. Wow. Haven't had that issue in a long time. All right. I removed all the filters in case that was an issue. Maybe I'll just... Oh, might be just me. Okay, anyway. Good to point it out anyway. Now it's fine. All right. What was I saying? So SLI natively needs, no matter what PCI generation, it needs 8x or above. So ideally, I should put the card in the middle slot, so we have 8x and 8x. But for whatever reason, um, the cards just won't post. The board gets confused. I tried a few different BIOS options, but the board gets confused, and it doesn't post with the second card in. With the first card in, of course, I tried different card order and so on, but for whatever reason, it posts fine with the second card in the chipset slot every single time. But now you're in territory of having to apply the SLI hack, which allows a few different things. It allows you to mix different cards. So on the AMD side, you can run, for example, a HT7990, which is basically two 7970s on the same PCB, together with another card that's just a single 7970. That's completely part of the Crossfire spec and works flawlessly most of the time. On the NVIDIA side, they just don't support that. So you can think of some configurations like instead of running 3 separate GTX 580s, you could run a 590 plus a 580. For that, you need the SLI hack because NVIDIA just disallows that, even though there's no reason it shouldn't run. That's the first use case for the SLI hack. The second one is, I don't exactly remember which chipsets, but they're certain motherboards and chipsets that are not SLI certified, and then basically NVIDIA hard locks that out of the driver. So you have to, again, hack the driver. So it took a little bit of messing around, but I found a driver and SLI hack configuration. By the way, it's called different SLI. Look it up. That's the hack that I'm using, which allows me, like you see here, to run all 4 GPUs together. Otherwise, you're limited in the driver. I'll just quickly show you the screen. What you see when you have all of the cards recognized by the OS, but the driver locks you out of enabling SLI, you will have here, if you disable and then re-enable, it will not say quad SLI, it will just run SLI on the first card, which of course is always possible because it's on the same PCB. Why should that be an issue? I just want to do a run. When there's a crash, you have to reboot or reset your 3D clocks. Hopefully you can see the postcode fine there. It's a little bit glary, but A2, F6, I can read it looking at my own stream. So yeah, so now what I've been doing, now that I have the cards running, I've been clocking the CPU a little bit and clocking the cards a little bit. By the way, this hack, for whatever reason, only works on for me at least, only works on an administrator account, which I couldn't at least set up without a password, so I just put in a dummy password. So the clocks I've been running, I don't have the best paste under the CPU, but I don't think CPU clocks will matter massively. So what I've been running is 5G on both the cache and the core at 1.45 vCore. And then what I was able to get a pass on with lower CPU clocks, but somehow not on the higher CPU clocks, was so your stock is 630 and 860 or so. I've been able to do 710 and 1000 on the RAM, which is really nice. But now, for whatever reason, I always get a crash in canyons. So the system had a little bit of time to cool down. So I'm just going to check if it's some sort of thermal issue, or maybe I need to clock down the cache a little bit again. The annoying thing about this competition is you have to keep system info enabled, which I honestly have never run 06 with system info on. but they require a valid link. So I hope I don't get a crash here, but I would expect a Canyons crash. So how is everyone doing? Let me fix up my screen a little bit. Oh. There we go. That makes a little bit more sense. Now you see all of the stats. Have you been benching for Team Cup White Shark? So the bits that are missing today, right now, are your block leaked. Yeah, but 690 is for the same stage, right? I mean, you don't need a block unless you bought a card with a block with no air cooler. I mean, I was seeing decent scaling with clocks, but at the end of the day, it's all about efficiency, about the OS, memory, and so on. Time to get a universal air cooler. I bought one recently. So maybe you can see it a little bit off to my right here. It was 1st of September was the first day of spring here in Australia, so it's nice. We had our first 30-degree day. Ah, yes, indeed, that does not exist. Then universal blocks. So what kind of loop are you running? Because I have quick releases and I have universal Chinese blocks. So they're a little bit fiddly to get attached to a dual GPU, but I've done it a lot of times before. 5870s, 7990s, no problem. Are there going to be any... Well, you don't have to tell me, but are there going to be any LN2 sessions for the German team for Team Cup this year? Or is it all cancelled because of the Rona? Come on, GT2. Oh, actually, we're already on CPU. So, yeah, CPU tests. I've talked about this before on stream, but the CPU test on 3D Mark 06 is quite glitchy for capture cards because it actually runs at a different resolution than all of the GTs for whatever reason. So sometimes you get these no signal issues. If I got a really expensive capture card, maybe it would be able to handle it. So now we're on Canyon. So this is where I basically expect a crash. Yeah, no big session. Well, that's, that's understandable. It's a shame, but it's understandable. Anyway, there's less of a reason. I haven't really looked into the total number of subs required, but definitely an effort was made to reduce that. Every stage is just 2 subs. Yeah, there we go. So 38 seconds. When I run it separately, it doesn't glitch there. So, well, maybe I can try. 60 fine, by the way. Thank you for watching. I don't think you've been on stream before, so welcome to the stream. Ask any question you want. So the next thing is it GPU or CPU clocks? Because this might sound funny, but oftentimes, well, there's a few different things that can happen, but Encore can be the cause of crashes in graphics tests, believe it or not. So you would assume that a physics or CPU test in a given 3D Mark is always the heaviest test. Overall, certainly for CPU core, that can be the case, but your CPU overclocks can definitely be the cause of crashes in GTs. So what I might do is go back to my 4.5 Encore. And reapply clocks and try again. No, that's a hang. Sometimes after a crash, you just have to reboot. So yeah, all of these issues with SLI I was talking about, in order to kind of figure out what my options were, I actually ran through a lot of different boards. So I ran this setup on the Z77 OCF, and they posted in the two big slots, and the Z97 OCF, and I was actually at one point tempted to just run the stage on Haswell, but then I realized, of course, there's a DDR4 requirement. But even just to check in terms of board compatibility, I ran on the Apex 6 with Skylake X in there, and even that didn't post. And I think the Apex 10 had a similar issue. I would have maybe considered okay, let's leave CPU overclocks out of it completely. I would have maybe considered something like buying an 8350K, but now it's out of the question because that board has the same compatibility issues. So let's go back in core first. I don't know why this passed earlier. But what I also discovered is that maybe my 8700K is dead, which is a real problem. I don't know what happened to that chip. See, the splash screen waiting is only because of system info. So that's... Wow, internet really not looking good today. Oh, hi Bulant. How are you doing? I don't know what that stutter was about, but let's see what the score is like. If it produces a score. So are you benching any other stages, White Shark, besides the one you currently don't have a cooler for? I hope I don't have to repaste them. They're showing, I think they're showing around 50 Celsius, 55 Celsius under load. Hey, mate. Did you, I heard you bought an Apex and a 10900K. Did you play with them yet? Oh, what stage is 3400G? Probably 3D mashup, right? Heaven. Alright, so we have a result 21.8. That's not great. I've done 23K, but now let's apply our CPU. Well, let's first save that profile. Let's see if we can pass a full run. Yeah, I wouldn't count on it. Shipping to Western Australia has been really slow for me. Really, really slow. I mean, I hope it arrives. I bought something internationally, and for whatever reason, it arrived in Australia via Perth, and I'm still waiting for it to arrive in Sydney. So let's maybe look at the rankings a little bit. So what you're looking at obviously is 2 cards in Crossfire. Hopefully it loads. Yes, it loaded. So I subbed at 35.5 just as a placeholder, but I think I actually have it 39.9. Now it'll be interesting to see how much higher I can go, because obviously being limited to only 8 threads, but this guy's on 6 and 6. I might be able to beat that. I saw good memory scaling on the GPU side, so this person only being on 860 whatever it is, and DDR3 obviously, a 21.6k SM3 score is beatable. 11k CPU probably okay as well. SM2 I haven't really looked at much yet, but Tractor is first on Skylake X. What I look at is just if I can beat his GT scores, which the SM3 I've gotten close to. Like I said, SM2 I haven't really looked at much, but he seems to be running basically stock everything. So if I can beat the GTs handily, then I can just switch on to the 7940X to get the CPU score out there, or maybe 10900K, but I don't know if I really want to fuck around with SLI Hawk on the LGA 1200 platform. It seems like a pain. Everything's a pain on that platform. Yeah, it depends on what you mean by high price. I mean, this is a nice GT. I like looking at this. I got it classified for 100, which I thought was okay. Um, Zotac, the 100 for Zotac is probably overpaying, but I just needed it for the competition. I mean, these cards are not really relevant for anything, but they're just fun to play around with because there's not that many NVIDIA dual GPU cards around. But in terms of benchmark relevance, uh, I mean, I don't know. I'll just convert it to euro for you. 60 euro. I thought for classified that was alright. I don't know. Maybe you have different standards. Prices here are high anyway. Yeah, there we go. 100 and under is good. Yeah, so, but like I said, benchmark relevance is not that high. In all of the global stuff, AMD usually does better for the multi-card things. And in terms of hardware points, I mean, it's kind of laughable. 20 something points. So e-power runs. White Shark, what? I can probably see it by just looking for his flag. I don't see any e-power runs. Maybe single card. Yeah, there's tin. So the 03 run here. Yeah, that's getting up there. Oh, nice. You have a card that does 775. Ooh, Popa ran it on air. 900 on air. Holy crap. Actually, this is the exact card I bought. I think. Maybe not. I don't know if he actually subbed it. So let's start with Popa and work our way up. So that looked like a really smooth canyons. And deep freeze usually doesn't cause any issues. I haven't actually looked at a bare PCB one. Oh, so it's got the same. Maybe a D-lid could be interesting. It's got the same big IHS that the 580s have. Obviously, you've got your PLX chip here. Interesting. So there's Popa. He doesn't give any. He never gives any details though, so that's the problem. So here's White Shark, our esteemed chat member. That's the other thing. Would XP maybe help for 06 or 8.1? So many things. XP doesn't. XP doesn't support quad fire though. So you're choosing between Vista 7 and 8.1 realistically. Do you still own that 7700K? Any dick pics? Rig pics? Oh, that's a nice flat block. What block is that? Have you ever run it cold? Okay, so that's the first time we broke 40k, so let's definitely save that. And please remind me, the requirements are quite strict on this, right? CPU tab, memory tab, mainboard tab, GPU Z, benchmark tabs, including the details tab, and also a data file. Very, very important. So that's 40.2. That's correct, isn't it? So now let's run a quick comparison between that and that's better. The 39.9K run. So core is the same. I upped the on-core. No, actually I didn't. Yeah, so up the on-core 900 megahertz. And actually I'm 10 megahertz slower on the GPU. So in terms of subtests, this is awkward. GT1 is faster, GT2 is slower. That's probably just variance, basically. Canyon's more or less the same. Deep freeze the same. It's not a massive difference, is it? Okay, so what can we do next? We've got to LOD first or system memory first? I think LOD is the way to go. So how does this work again? I think it's 8x sparse grid, isn't it? Yes, indeed. It's actually two 590s. EVJ classified. Zotac. Yeah, I think it's 2x sparse grid. Let's start at plus 15. Just for shits and giggles. Here we go. NVOC. Alright. Fair enough. This is probably slower, but just for illustrative purposes. Aqua computer. That's not related to aqua cooling, is it? And it hangs. I might just have to run my LOD tests at lower clocks. That's a hang. Is it? No. So let's go 675, 1950. Yeah. Didn't like that. double check our LOD. I would do a stock run, but the cards are clocked differently, so that's probably not advisable. Come on, fans. Come on, system info. Should probably apply my encore as well. I should probably set that in bias, but I'm lazy. Nice loading screen. Let me do a full run actually. That will give me a chance to get a snack. What did I miss? Didn't even take an entire GT1 for me to get a snack. So are you widely distributing NVOC now, White Shark? So what's been happening in the benching world? I feel a little bit disconnected. I have other hobbies and real life stuff that I don't really talk about much on stream, but for whatever reason, those have been more interesting to me recently. But I do like benching too. I mean, when I got yesterday, basically what happened was I spent an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, trying to get these cards to SLI together, and I got absolutely nowhere. And then, I was sort of thinking maybe I was stupid. Maybe it was because there were two different vendors. Maybe the board just won't do it. But then when it all came together and I saw that 4 GPUs were enabled in GPU Z, I was really happy. So that gave me the motivation to stream today. This is a really interesting GT. They've never again done an ice themed one, It's always fantasy or basically fantasy themes. Nothing sort of real life like this. So what's that White Shark, what is NVOC written in? Is it like C# or something? So this result looks quite good. 23.3K is my highest SM3 ever. And that's with reduced GPU clocks. I should have notes somewhere on the correct LOD, but let's just roughly try and find it. Yeah, that's right. I didn't think about that. So I'd like to see, so it's starting to look like I'll be able to take 06 for the cheap gold. I wonder what any of these other scores are. Aresarino, I think it's sort of public knowledge that RS Anino is just Roberto Sanino, is his real name. These Sandy E old school scores. Seems a bit weak sauce. I don't know what the motivation behind these kind of scores was, because in '05 I'd still like to push at least the GPU memory a little bit. By the way, I'll have to have a look at shader to see if shader scales. Or so one basically one of the drawbacks of MSI Afterburner is that it doesn't give you a shader slider. So then it basically hard locks the shader clock to the core clock. And at least on the GTX 200 series of GPUs, I found that with that hard lock, you end up limiting your core overclock, because you will run into a shader limit before a core limit. So if you downclock your shader, or if you apply a different ratio, then you can get a higher core and get better scores. Oh, it is linked, because on the GTX 200 series, it's not it's, I mean, by default it is linked in software, but you can apply them separately if you want. Wow. You know, I used to play WoW. Seems like such a long time ago. Back when I still gamed. So I think I played Dark Age of Camelot first in terms of MMORPGs. And that was probably 2001, 2002, 2003. And then when WoW came out in 2003, I switched to that because my guild switched. But it was sort of, you know, I was a teenager and stuff, and it was sort of wrecking with my real life. You know, I was just spending so much time on there and getting nowhere. And I can remember maybe a couple of years later, maybe 2005 or so, just selling all of my items on my main character and walking around just in underwear, basically in Stormhold, whatever the Alliance capital is, and just logging out, just pressing the logout button for the last time. And that was the end of me in terms of MMORPGs. And I'm glad I gave them up. I'm glad it's sort of, you know, I don't have many vices. I'm not, you know, I'm not a smoker. I never really did drugs. I don't have a drinking problem, but MMORPGs sort of hit that spot where I felt like I was getting addicted. So that's the first and only thing I ever gave up was MMO. Morpegs, whatever, those things. That was a very well-timed use of the beer command. Yeah, that's what people tend to do with WoW, is just come back with the expansions. Are you running the classic or the current one? Just checking. Priceless. No, this is tap water. Okay, let's just check the result here. 22.9. All right, just gonna take a few notes. So 15 lot was 17.1k, 23.3k, 10 lot equals 17 and 22.9. I'm gonna try 12 lot now, but it's because it seems like that's the sweet spot. Or somewhere around there. So yeah, about vices and stuff. I mean, it's weird, right? Like, I think that there's a fine balance there because I'm sort of suspicious of people who have none of that. Like, I feel like they must be. I don't know. This is obviously tongue in cheek, but I sometimes sort of feel that somebody who um, is healthy, um, not overweight, um, doesn't drink, is like a vegetarian or something, doesn't smoke, doesn't do drugs, is a nice person. Like overall, there has to be something hidden there. You know, there have to be like murder or something, or maybe they're just into really weird stuff. You know, behind closed doors. I don't know. I just don't trust that sort of level of. I don't know what you would call it. I'm trying to think of the right word for it, but I think you know what I'm getting at. Whereas I think someone just who just has a sort of sensible balance, you know, has a couple of beers sometimes or a glass of wine or two. Um, that just seems more real to me, but I don't know. Like, you know, I sometimes come across people who have never had a cigarette or never even tried a cigarette, and I go, that's weird. Why would you not at least try it once? And they kind of go, oh, well, you know, I don't like the smell of them or something. Well, I don't like the smell of cigarettes either, but I've still smoked in my past. I mean, not habitually, but you know, I've had a smoke at a party on occasion. So never smoked, yeah. But I mean, I think that's cool. You know, if you've never smoked, but maybe gotten drunk a few times as a kid, I think you're off the hook. But I think that combination of never having done any of these things, that's really weird to me. But maybe I'm being I fully admit it, maybe I'm just being judgmental. Maybe there is another mode in life that makes sense, you know, another way of doing things. Yeah, I can understand the smell aspect of it. I mean, there's people in my family and stuff who smoke, and it's obviously disgusting, you know. Once you do it for 30, 40 years daily, there's all of these horrendous side effects. But I think that, you know, a cigarette at a party once a year kind of thing, like that's, I really enjoy that. I have to say, I have to admit to it. I remember graduating from university, or not even graduating, not even having found out yet what the results were or anything, but straight after um, the last exam on my in my final year in university, I had a cigar together with somebody else in my class, and that was just heaven. I mean, I think we're all sort of lucky in a sense that cigars are so expensive, because if I could afford to have sort of like half a cigar every couple of days, I would be tempted by it, because it's just it's like just a way more refined version of a cigarette. A cigarette, you know, has a filter on it. It's cheap tobacco. It's, you know, it's mass produced. A cigar is just you know, and you have weird stuff in there. You have honey and tar and weird stuff in a cigarette, whereas a cigar is just basically just pure tobacco, and the taste is wonderful, and the smell of it is much more refined as well. That would really tempt me. Nice. So you fully switched to cigars, or you sort of gave up smoking and then replaced it with occasional cigars? Kruzak, this is kind of what I do. I mean, this is Livestream 85, so I've obviously done a lot of different things. I like to do a variety of overclocking streams, but always with a focus on competitive overclocking on HardwareBot. Uh, so yeah, I mean, this is my HardwareBot profile. Uh, this is my Insta. Um, yeah. What have I done in the past? I mean, I own basically all the hardware going back to socket 478 on the Intel side, going back to socket A on the AMD side. So I haven't streamed SDR before, but I've streamed DDR, DDR2, DDR3, DDR4. I've done crazy stuff, like I've done a laptop overclocking stream. I think I did a server overclocking stream as well, but I would say maybe my focus is on 2D rather than 3D, just because it's easier to stream it and stuff. But actually 3D is nice to stream because it's more visual. I can just talk and you have, you know, the graphics tests running in the background. So yeah, I don't know what you want to know. I do liquid nitrogen streams as well. I don't currently have any liquid nitrogen in stock. So I usually, when I don't have LN2, I have Halea HC500 500 watt chillers, 2 of them. So that's usually what I use. You can't see it, but that's what's on the CPU at the moment. So, ooh, this score actually seems worse. That's interesting. So 16.9 and 23.3. So 15 LOD and 12 LOD were both 23.3 for the SM2 part. Let's just, for a moment, ignore SM2 and just keep rerunning SM3 and get a couple of scores there. I should not kick my streaming rig. Weird. Oh, I don't want any of that stuttering, so let's abort and rerun. Okay, so Dropbox Paper is my note-taking app of choice, so let's go in there and let's make a table. Yeah, let's just optimize for SM3, and then if SM2 falls somewhere reasonable around 17K, then I don't really care. Could also try and switch LODs mid bench, but let's not do that today. Let's move on to memory overclocking after that. So let's do maybe 4 runs. I think 4 runs at each setting will be reasonable. Didn't show the E-Power Madness. Okay. Fermi, yes. Harbor Barbecue. Welcome to the stream. Welcome back, I should say. And yes, it's Fermi. And it's heating up my room quite nicely here. The exhaust is going towards me, so it's a little bit hotter now than at the start of the stream. You still got urges to smoke. Well done, Keep, on giving up smoking. That's quite hard to do. I know some people in my family have tried to give up, and it's not easy. So, and it's bad for your health. It's becoming more and more socially unacceptable, which I don't really agree with, but it's just a fact of life. And then it's also expensive. I mean, you know, you talk about, certainly in the US it's maybe a little bit cheaper, but in Europe you're talking like easily 20-30 euro a day just to put something on fire. Am I up to speed on Z490 overclocking? I have Gigabyte supplied me with an engineering sample, 10900K, and I have an Aorus masterboard with that. So yeah, I might be streaming some Z490 again soon. But yeah, I'm reasonably up to date. Do you have any questions? So that's a 23.1. I should probably No, let's just note the overall scores. Let's not go too crazy. 23,085. Because I know there's quite a bit of variability. Which Discord is that? Yeah, that's the overclocking Discord, right? The one with the flamey orange symbol, right? Ooh, 3 updates. Maybe I shouldn't have triggered this. So slow to start. So this Discord, I guess you're talking about. So I haven't shown the e-power madness. That is a valid point. So let's go back to single card. Tin, I kind of wish they were still more active on. They were more active on, you know, Tin and Kingpin, Vince. More active on hardware bot. They really don't bench as much anymore. So here's the e-power madness. Are you happy now, White Shark? Let me put that in the chat. So yes, 2 pots, 2 e-powers. I wonder which version of e-power is that? Power draw test. So is that 1.7 V-core? I don't see a scale here. What power draw did it end up having? It's pretty insane. Minus 5 on the what's the second probe? Is that on the CPU? Oh, Sandy Bridge, yes. So that's CPU. This is GPU. One of them at least. That's pretty sick. What did you write? EVJE powers, so easy to overclock. Yeah, there must be some sort of hard mod for more memory because that usually doesn't scale with cold this much. Are you happy now, White Shark? Yeah, I agree. The new keep Island 2 Discord is sweet. So that's a 23,174 run. So you see the variability there. I think I'll have to run 4 times. But you sub something else. I also did Vantage. Obviously severely CPU limited there. Yeah, beaten by ambient nowadays because of the limited threads. But here we've got more rig picks. That's pretty cool. That original e-power though, I don't think I've seen pictures of that before. Nice. Let's catch up on chat. Wow, you bought both an Apex 12 and a Dark. That's a lot of dough for boards on the same platform. Yeah, I have about four kits as well. I have some Royals. I have some team groups. I have the 4266 bin of Galax, and I have some Trident Z RGB 4266s as well. I should run through those. That could be my next stream, actually. The best B-die RAM kit to recommend. It's all just down. I mean, depends on what you're trying to do. What are you trying to run? If you're trying to do like 4400 CL16, I think a lot of the RGB kits, the higher bin RGB kits can do that. A lot depends on your IMC as well. But G-Skill is usually a good bet. G-Skill or Galax. No, that E-Power was never released. Okay. I mean, Royal 48. That is an insane kit. Just hang on to that. So we got a 2023-011. And this is the 12 LOD run, isn't it? Yes, 12 LOD. So this is going to be our fourth and final run. I'm 7 followers away from 200 followers, by the way. So if anyone who's on stream feels like following, please do so. Just press the button. You can turn off the notifications. Those kind of annoy me. So I won't hold it against anyone else if they disable notifications. But following doesn't cost anything. And once you turn off notifications, it also doesn't mean anything. So, but it would be good to get over 200. Yeah, I mean, out of those kits, T4s, Royals, G-Skill, those are all good. I just keep whichever. Do you have a window or something in your rig? I just keep whichever ones look the best, to be honest. I didn't realize. I mean, Tin did do 3D a little bit. Sorry, 2D a little bit back in the day. Sort of surprised to see a 2600 crop up. Oof. The P67 EVGA board, that's rough. You hate RGB, then probably the team group, right? Isn't the team group the only kit without RGB in that list? Let's double check. T-Force team group 4133. That might even be the exact kit that I have. Yeah, non-RGB. Keep the team groups then. Ooh, what is Shaggy sub? I like Shaggy. Oh, it's for the comp. That's really strong. That's really, really strong. Anytime, since the Team Cup competition is so limited in terms of hardware, anytime somebody makes a submission and it actually gets so many hardware points that it still makes it to the front page, that's a very good sign. So that's 9th on the 4870. Wow. So our run completed. It's a 23171. So all the runs ended up being within 160 points of each other or so. Now let's check 15 LOD. An older non-RGB G-Skill 4500. Never heard of that. Interesting. So back to Shaggy. So what's that? 560 BCLK on 8600. That's really strong. That's really, really strong. And you end up suffering so much there because your GT1 ends up being so slow. So with that card, you could probably get a 2 point something, 2.2k GT1 or something, but because of your CPU, you're being held back. That's really interesting. And do you run Coles GPU? Wow, that's dedication. What team is this even on? Overclock. Oh, it's my team. It's a bit unfair, this competition. So many people are on overclock.net now. But I didn't really have much of a choice. I mean, my old team disbanded, basically, in a way. So very nice run. Ran without. Now, what I haven't tried is the different SLI modes. You know, alternate frame rendering versus split frame rendering or whatever it's called. So that would be interesting to see as well. Looks like a strong run. $60 fine. What country are you based in? And do you, I mean, what are your benching goals? Do you want to take part in competitions, or do you just want a team with good advice? Sweden. I mean, you could join Team Finland. That's pretty close by. Pulse is in Sweden though, and he's an old timer, I think. I think he's called his name is Pulse88. Could be wrong. Just contact them. And there's your team as well, techsweden.org. Let me check. Don't know how many people are in this team, but Pulse is good. So what do we have here? Let's check for active members. Yeah, Calathea was an old school bencher as well. Elmore. So in terms of legit benchers, you've got Elmore, Calathea, and Pulse. TS Diesel and the Mutt I'm not familiar with, but that doesn't mean that they don't bench. So you're talking a team of, if you join it, 6 people, right? Who have extreme experience, basically. Well, maybe not you, but so I would say Yeah, maybe techsweden.org, the site is down, but the HardwareBot team still exists. I don't know. That would be my recommendation. If you don't want to join that team, then at least talk to Calathea and Pulse, because Pulse has been doing some really good benching on Cascade recently. And seems like a really good bencher. So our fastest run of the lot so far. It's interesting. But you know, there's always Team Finland. So Pulse is really good in 3D. It runs a lot of dual cascade setups and stuff. Really, really strong. It really impressed me with his, I think, HD 7970 multi-way runs. I don't know if I can find those. The site issues seem to be gone on HardwareBot, so that's positive. Yeah, so there's 3 mark entry, but I think his I think it was 2-way actually. Yeah, there we go. So that's really strong, beating our Sanino on 7G just with efficiency. That's really, really good. So 6.5 on his KS. Very strong bencher. What's my thought on the 3000 series? So overall, considering, so obviously we don't have third-party benchmarks yet, so you have to take everything with a grain of salt. But if you take the benchmark numbers that they have provided on face value, then there's so much of a performance improvement from the 2000 series to the 3000 series that, for example, the 3070 for $500 is really strong. That's very impressive. So the 1000 series had really good performance for value. Like the 1080 Ti came out for $700, I think, and at the time was so good, and it's still a good card. The 2000 series, they kind of started to realize that they had no competition, so they just priced themselves out of the market. 3000 series, they could have kind of done the same thing, but they sort of chose not to, which tells me that the next generation of AMD cards is going to be quite good. Maybe not amazing. People always have too high of an expectation from AMD when it comes to 3D, but a lot more competitive than we're used to in recent years. So yeah, 3000 series overall is good. You just have to, the first sort of thing you have to watch out for is the fact that they are releasing a lot of different VRAM capacities for the same SKU. So that you have to be careful with, because I could imagine, I don't know what it is, like an 8 gigabyte 3070 being a little bit crippled in a couple of years' time. Oof, that's not good, is it? So we have the best run so far, followed by the worst run. And I don't think they will be power limited. Yes, it's as far as I know, it's Samsung 7 or 8 nanometer, but Nvidia did very good work on 12 nanometer. Was it the 1000 series? They were stuck on 12, or was it 14 for a long time, and they still made it work. So yeah, they're introducing a new power socket and all, power connector and all that, but I wouldn't. No, I mean, no, I just wouldn't be too worried about that. Yeah, I agree. Pulse, he obviously came out of retirement because I initially didn't know that person at all. So they've not been active since 2017 when I started benching. But I talked to some Aussie overclockers and they said, yeah, Pulse has been around for a while. So obviously came out of semi-retirement. Yeah, 3090, but 3090 is not, I mean, there's a tendency among daily people who are just daily in a gaming system, to buy too expensive hardware. So of course, people will buy the 3090 for daily, but in my opinion, for someone who really thinks about it, it's not really gonna be a daily card. The 3080 will be the top end for something that can reasonably go into a gaming rig, in my opinion. So the 3090 is kind of like the Titan, you know? That's not to say that there won't be a Titan that's even higher end than that, the 3090, but I think they're making clear with their naming scheme that the mainstream cards will be 3060, 3070, 3080. 3090 will be just the Halo product, you know? So 16 what? What's that a reference to? 16? Oh, is that the size of the VRM or something? Calling it a night. All right. Thanks for dropping by. Yeah, the Apex was popular in Asia. That's the thing, right? Um, it had a limited run, so for the Apex 12, it sort of made me even more mad that people buy it for their dailies. But you know, you can do whatever you want with your money. You know, who am I to judge? Ooh, the best run yet, 23,305. So taking a quick average here, 15 seems to be good. Let me just, for out of curiosity, run like, is over 15 even possible on this driver? I think I'll just stick with 15, and next I'll try and up the clocks again. So I'm going to go with my 700 1000 again and just see if that fail was a random fail or if the LOD now makes the card clock worse, which is not a surprise. Yeah, I'm not so knowledgeable about NVIDIA LOD yet. On the AMD side, I kind of have it in my head what a LOD should be for a certain 3D mark, but not on NVIDIA. Oh, hey, Bill's out. 16 nanometer. Oh, that's right. How are you keeping? Yeah, this is just on an Apex. I had to SLI hack to get the cards working. I mentioned that at the start of the stream, so I don't know exactly why. Maybe there's a way around it, but these two particular cards in this particular board refuse to work in slot 1 and slot 3 together, which is the natural choice, right? You want 8x SLI, but it wouldn't post. I can swap around the card order, whatever, try different biases. I just didn't get a post. The only way I could get a post was slot 1 and the chipset slot, which is obviously limiting in some ways. I mean, I don't know if PCI Gen 2 4x limits me in bandwidth or whatever, but it's better to be able to get a run out than not. So my scores seem kind of in line with what's on the bot, so I'm reasonably happy. This is for a competition anyway. I'm not doing this for points. This is for Team Cup. So I just need to get the thing running, you know? Yeah, especially for the dual GPU cards, it's really tricky. Like on my Apex 6, the X299 board, I can't even get a single GTX 590 posting in a non chipset slot. So top slot, no go. And of course, it's only getting worse. LGA 1200 is just a disaster with legacy GPUs. All right. So that passed. How are my CPU clocks? I thought they were applied, so I'm sort of surprised. All right, let's try and get a full run while we can. So off stream, I was able to run 700 core and 1000 memory on both cards. Then I went on stream and it passed with no LOD, but then it failed without the LOD, or sorry, with the 15 LOD applied. Then I just did some tests at lower clocks and now it passed again. So must be on the edge. Yeah, X99 banned for this stage. So the stage limitations are has to be DDR4, has to be a quad core, and it has to be 4 GPU cores as well. So since there are no unlocked quad cores I'm aware of on X99, because I have a SOC champion, and that would have been easy. But this is working out okay. It's a pretty decent 6700K. I mean, the cards are just random. I don't know if this is good clocks or bad clocks for this configuration, but just need a score for the comp basically. This could be a pretty good score if it passes. I still don't have a 690. Hopefully someone else on the team can get 2 of them. I've gotten close to buying one on various occasions, but it's hard to justify because there's no points for it really. It's just the novelty factor of it really. Same thing with this 590. I got it in a bundle from a local bencher, along with a 280X Matrix, some other bits and bobs. I do like X99. I have to come back to it. Weird hang. Maybe the score will be crap. Maybe, with 4 GPUs, it's always difficult. You kind of have to rerun a few times. You never really know. I mean, you could. So, 3Mark06 doesn't have a windowed mode. So, what can you. I mean, I suppose you could open 4 sensor tabs in the background, but isn't that at the point where it starts to influence your bench then? So, you can only sort of make reasonable guesses as to, when there's a hiccup in the bench, is that normal? Is that one of the cards crapping out? Is the score going to be crap? Like, you just don't really know. You just have to like run a few times, and then if you get a bad score every single time, then you can say, all right, maybe I have to wind back my overclock a bit. Yeah, so for '06, absolutely no question about it, Bullant. 8.1 in most cases is better. The reason I'm on 7 now is because it took a little bit of fiddling. I had to kind of mess around with the scripts included in different SLI, in the SLI hack, to get it to work. So, and what I was having trouble with actually on 8.1 was engaging the test signing mode for the driver permanently. I know you can hit, I think, F8 on startup, and enable test signing for that one boot only. But I didn't want to do that on stream every single time I reboot, which actually, funnily enough, I haven't rebooted much at all. But yes, it is the same driver. So I should be able to just use the exact same driver version. Like, it's literally the same binary. So the 64-bit versions of 7, 8, and 8.1 for this generation of card, for that age of driver, are bundled together in the same binary. So I think I can get it working. I just haven't had the time. I mean, I spent literally like almost 3 hours to get everything into a running configuration on Win 7. But yeah, absolutely point taken. Skylake and above. 8.1 is faster in Aqua, 05 and 06 usually. So I will try that. This is, I haven't had a pass on Deep Freeze, so sorry, a fail. So if we're passing canyons, then I think we have a run. It's just a question of this, whether the score is good. And you know, funny thing is, this is probably a coincidence, but on the runs that failed, I had full fans enabled in Afterburner, and now I don't, and it's passing. That's kind of counterintuitive. I don't know if there's some sort of power limit. Like, I can't imagine the fans being included in the power limit and then that causing a crash because the additional power draw of the fans make you hit 100%. That doesn't really make sense to me, but who knows? It's Fermi after all. It's a pretty fucked up generation of GPU. Just mod you, Billzoid. I think it's only fair since you made me mod on your stream. 60 fine. Thanks for the follow. So 6 follows away from the Magic 200. Okay, so we have a worse score. And we have a really rough SM2. Actually, everything is scoring worse. So I think we need to wind back something. I mean, 40k is all right, but yeah, that's atrocious. So let's go back 10 on the core. Let's go back to full fan speed as well, just in case. Yeah, because core scaling isn't that great. I can easily drop back the clocks a little bit and pretty much get the same score. It's just about having a run without hiccups. So Keep, how come you're not streaming much anymore these days? I love to hang out in your stream, but also I saw your idea for a overclocking related podcast, and I'm a huge fan of podcasts, so that would be pretty sweet. Hopefully that gets off the ground. Sparky, I think I don't think Bullant streams. I mean, he can answer for himself, but I think it's just an account to watch other streams. I could be wrong. Yeah, overclocking can be a bit old school sometimes. Oh, I'm actually 4 followers away from the big 200. Coming up on that Empire Business Achievement, 250 hours streamed. Why? Damn it. There we go. You can kind of see that. So 4 follows away. Get 20 people chatting at the same time. We're sort of close to that, but not really. Anyway, thanks all for joining today. Too bad Vaseline never sponsored an OC event. Interesting comment. I don't think they need advertising. I think everyone knows what Vaseline is and what its use cases are, so why waste money on advertising? Yeah, I mean, I always say this on my streams that I'd love to have more sort of, it's not even competition, but fellow streamers around, you know? There's as much as I think the stats on my channel over the 2.5 or so years that I've been streaming uh, is something along the lines of zero point 0.3 streams a week, or sorry, 0.7 streams a week, which is less than what I want to do. I want to stream once a week. I think that's a good number, because with, you know, setting up a rig and stuff, I think twice a week is, I do it sometimes, but it's a bit too much. But there's really no one else who streams weekly. I mean, Joe at Steponzi did it at some point. I don't know what his deal is at the moment. He must be busy in real life. So yeah, this is sort of, maybe this is a good list to go through. So yeah, we've got Billside obviously who's in chat. We've got Keep who's in chat. Then there's Joe. Bilko does a few things. Higher Numbers is sort of a more recent one. Again, not streaming that much recently. Samza in Spanish only. Arsanino in Italian only. Dr. Weeze. I still love his streaming archive. He has like hundreds of videos on there and just really technical, exactly what I like. But I think his situation at the moment is he's trying to move to a different continent and stuff at the moment, so he's not streaming at the moment. French Legion again tends to be in French, but I mean, I don't mind watching streams that are in a different language. You can still ask questions in the chat, so if something is not really unclear just from the visuals, they all speak English. It's just that their audience is French or Spanish or Italian. And then this is a bit outdated, but yes, once upon a time we had a weekly Overclocking TV stream. That was really, really sweet. So we're almost done with this run. Yeah, exactly. Tech Lab. Let's do that. Let's add Tech Lab. But I'm not signed in here. I'll make a note. That's a good point. Yes, Tech Lab is a recent addition, and they're their 3 gigahertz 2080 Ti GPU Pi run. That's goddamn fucking impressive. So it's gone off the main page, but would it be, maybe if we're lucky it's in the showcase here. Yes. $3,000. Those cards, I saw a little bit of cold 2080 Ti benching at the Country Cup 2019 Australian bench meet, and it is such a goddamn pain in the ass running those cards. They constantly lose mount. They clock differently every single time you pull them down. Full pot is not easy to get on them. It's just so hard. You basically, even on a good mount, you get you get half an hour of benching out of them, and then you have to remount. You have to pull down and remount, or pull up rather. Interesting to try this new paste. They stole the mascot idea from me, definitely. Yes, even Ralph commented that it's something special if the likes of Elmore or Ralph. By the way, that's another Swedish overclocker. Ralph, Elmore, and Pulse. 3 overclockers right there. But, well, I'm talking to a guy who just left the stream. But anyway, so what happened to this run? 37k. I don't get it. Let's do a rerun. When in doubt, rerun. Ah, nice. I should actually watch for FPS drops because something's fishy is going on here. Yeah, I'd go on your show if you asked me. Keep, that'd be fun. I love podcasts. It's just the way to pass the commute into work or whatever. If you're going for a long drive, put it on the stereo. Amazing. And it's something I don't think has been tried before. A benching podcast. So what else can I try? There's another weird hiccup. Okay, let's do it like this. Let's also downclock the memory. Let's work our way up rather than trying to get stability from the top down. See, here's our temps. 50 Celsius seems fine. All right. 1 or 2 runs of this, and then otherwise I might need a reboot. Okay, let's give it a reboot. That sometimes happens. You just, especially in the old benches, you just need a reboot or a driver restart. So what's the idea? Keep do you want to do like overclocker profiles where it's just you and one other person, or do you want to do more like a panel kind of discussion kind of thing where you have, let's say, 4 total people or something on the podcast? Because either works actually. Some other topics that I know that I sort of follow podcast wise, they switch between the 2 formats. All right, let's not forget our CPU overclock, however slight it might be. 5 and 5. I'm sort of convinced it's the fans. Let's keep the fans on auto. Always seems to work better with the fans on auto for whatever damn reason. Bi-weekly. Nice. Goddamn system info. Alright, so one little tip to get better CPU score is to just pre-run it once or twice on its own. Doesn't always work, but okay, that's a low run. Let's try it one more time. Yeah, please DM me. Yeah, Billy, I would imagine that we're getting quite close to the power limit on these things. Okay, 10.6, that looks good. I could try affinity and priority as well, actually. So you're saying that shorting the shunts isn't advisable because it ends up putting the card into safe mode? I don't think I'll do much with these cards. I'll just do the like legacy stuff. I don't think I'll push core or anything, since I can't LN2 them really. I mean, I could, but I struggle single GPU LN2, never mind dual on the same PCB. I'm just looking at the science and technology tab in or category on Twitch, and it's kind of interesting. It's all sort of live coding and stuff. Live earthquake, I don't know what that is. Oh, there's my stream. But it's just I'm sort of trying to look at it from the perspective of someone trying to browse to my stream. It's like, what's the sort of attraction of this category? It's the only category that benching really fits into, since I think a couple of years ago they got rid of the IRL category because it was getting too big, and they split it up into this kind of stuff. It's like, no offense, but like this other stuff, it just, I don't know who watches it. What's this live earthquakes one anyway? That's just sort of like it almost feels like a live webcam kind of thing, you know? So I struggle to kind of see someone browsing through this and being like, oh, look, overclocking. Just need to short the shunts a little bit. Okay. Five M as in 5 mega, I'm assuming, not milli. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. I'm putting that in my notes actually. That might be a worthwhile mod to make. I mean, hence the need for e-power, I suppose. Besides, besides obviously not wanting to blow up the VRM, the other reason for e-power on this card is probably just to get around the power limit. Milliohms, okay. Yeah, I'm a noob on the hard mod side of things. That's why I always ask dumb questions like this. My ability on the hard mod side is soldering on a sense wire. That's kind of what I'm comfortable with. Maybe a trim pot here or there on an older card. I'm trying to get better, but it's sort of like you can't spread yourself too thinly. You know, I'm comfortable with 2D, like CPU and memory, both cold. Then 3D I'm sort of less comfortable with, and then cold even less so, and then hard modding even less so. So e-powers, yeah, I just sort of bought them because they were cheap. Probably never going to use them, to be honest. Yeah, I have three. I have the two recent e-powers, and then I have an older one. The one that says classified on it. That's probably 1 or 2 generations old. I will eventually put them on, or attempt to put them on an ancient card. So that's Canyons. I didn't see any stutter, but then again, I wasn't really paying that much attention. Okay. So live for 2 hours. I will have to have lunch at some point. Yeah. 480s are a good pick. I have 4 of them. Um, they are good for e-powers because they really need it. And they're probably also one of the easier cards to mod with an e-power. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe like two-way. Bin 4 cards for the 2 best cards, then e-power the 2 best ones. Hopefully we get a good score out of this. What cards keep? So yeah, at most I would say maybe about half an hour to go. I do want to try and first of all get a score out, and then secondly try and dial in the memory a little bit, the system memory. No, that's atrocious. I don't know what's going on there, but that is absolutely atrocious. Okay, first question, do we still have all 4 cards? Yes, we do. Are they playing clocks? Yes, they are. All right. GTX 280. Yeah, I have a few of those. I still need to run, I think, three-way. I ran two-way, got a few goals on two-way, but I think three-way is still missing. Okay, let's really watch for hiccups. Oh, there's some low clock challenge scores coming in. So what team's Surge Man? I'm assuming Hardware Reactor. Yes, Hardware Reactor. So that's White Shark's team. Let's see. Yeah, 300 bus clock. Weak sauce. All cores enabled. Obviously, just a placeholder score. Ooh, Max subbed on the APUs. Max is a good bencher. Hold on, is Windows 10 even legal? I wouldn't have thought that Windows 10 on Ryzen is legal. Oh well, there's no drivers otherwise. Fair enough. It's also a stock score. Oh, Fast Track subs. He doesn't usually sub. Matisse. 4500 C17, that's not bad. Not that it would make a difference on W Prime more than likely. There we go. Good old Canyons. One of the nicest GTs around, I think. Yeah, I had a 3400G once. I don't know. Seemed like a waste trying to keep a board around with a display out. In general, I've just gone off Ryzen benching, but I've done a lot of it. First and second gen, I did a lot. But now I've kind of gotten rid of most of my Ryzen chips. maybe I'll get back to it at 4th gen. I mean, the XT release definitely has helped. Now it's competitive in a lot more global categories, but the cold bug behavior is insane. I did a little bit of it for Country Cup. The, what was it, Cinebench 15 single core score, but I didn't enjoy it. Not at all. Don't know how to pronounce that name, but Silesian. Um, Currently, I'm running 675 core, but the stock on the classified card is a little bit higher. I think 630, and on the Zotac is 608. Hot garbage. But then I don't really understand, when I was running the SM3 stuff on its own, it was scoring fine. So I don't fully understand what's going on there. Let's open a sensor tab on the secondary card and see what happens mid-run. Here you see an example of my soldering skills. Anyway, a Molex. Not my finest work, but it functions, so can't really diss it. So this is kind of what I'm looking at benching. Otherwise, I might bench. This is wrong. This is just out of date. So quad is going to be GDX 590 times 2, and then triple I would run HD 7990 plus 7970. Yeah, I still need to run cold on my bulldozer chip. I'll probably run a bit of AM2. I'll probably run the weird DDR4 low clock challenge 32M, even though my 8700K is probably dead at this point, so not sure about that. I wish I still had my 9700K. Alright, so is this going to score well or not? Maybe I need a driver reinstall or something. $17K. But I mean, at least up to 72% bus interface load. That's interesting. No perf cap, according to this. Yeah, I might need a driver reinstall or something. Let's see if we can. Let's just make a very quick half-assed attempt at dialing in the memory and rerunning CPU test a little bit. So maybe 3866 C12 or something. Yeah. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. I'll just very, very lazily dial this in. What's N semicolon 1? That's what I'd like to know. Is it gonna post? Phone died. Yeah, a lot of people watch on mobile actually. Looking at the stats, it's kind of surprising. Which is even more of a shame that I didn't manage to get transcoding today. So transcoding is only. Let's try to retry through that. Transcoding is only guaranteed for partners. For affiliates, it's usually there. I usually have good success just restarting the stream and getting it. But today I restarted the stream once, and I still didn't have transcoding. So. Yep, almost got there. Four F 32, 35. Gonna get there? No. Oh, really? I don't even know the context of that. Thanks. Regardless. Now, did it fail overclocking or did it actually post now? Looks like it might have trained, but we'll have to double check in CPU-Z. Alright, it did train. Now let's give the CPU test a run. Oh, in a post. Sweet. You have a nice day too, 60 fine. Thanks for watching. So I think what we'd like to see is like 11k or something. Just checking my notes. I think 10.6 or so is the best result I've had before. Now it takes a few reruns to get there. .2 still not great. But let's just do a full run with no GPU clock supplied and see what happens. Seems kind of smoother, doesn't it? Yeah, 690 is pretty good. These cards did 710 earlier, but there must be some sort of power limit happening. So what's the end frame here? 11,950 or so. Let's throw that in. Oops. So if you don't know, this is a really useful tool. 11,950, so 105 FPS. Let's keep an eye on it. If our SM2 score is, you know, under 16k or something, then we know something's very wrong. Yeah, well, this is running on stock cooling as well, so this is a Shorts GT. It's less than a minute, I think. I think it's 57 seconds or so. 5.5, 5.6, 5.7, 5.8, 5.9, 6, 6.4. No, that's 12.5k SM2 score. All right, I think a driver reinstall is in order, and being very hungry, and after 2.5 hours of streaming, I'll do that off stream. Thanks all for watching. It's been a great stream. The internet has not been amazing, but it's been good enough. Like I say, you know, like, share, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Follow my Instagram, you know, hang out on the Discord if you aren't already. And yeah, next stream might be as soon as Wednesday. So until then.